Well, good evening. It's martini time on Easter. Sorry I'm a little late, but we were watching Hidden Figures, and then we got a leak in the dining room, big beautiful ceiling, and there were no water pipes up there. We looking, where's the water coming from? And what are the hidden figures here? So we realized that there were no water pipes under the floor, but I went up in the attic and we have a heat pump up there, and it was running a lot because it's up in the 80s today, and apparently its pump or something that collects the condensation had failed, and there was condensation collecting that's now dripping down in our dining room. So those are the hidden figures. Now, I just have you seen the movie? It's really good. It's about the three NASA black women who broke through the black ceiling and became respected engineers and professionals by persisting. Let's put it that way. They persisted. And so I got to thinking about hidden figures, and the leak is, this is a great metaphor. What are the hidden figures? The basic story of the movie was that all these engineers, white male engineers, one of which was Sheldon Cooper, well, good job for him, were doing the math, you see, and there were some glitches that couldn't work out, some hidden figures. And so this one black lady, who was a math genius, discovered the hidden figures and worked out the math so the John Glenn chute would land, come back, you see. So this idea of the hidden figures in all of our plans, all of our best laid plans, all of our math, there's going to be some hidden figures that we can't see. And in the movie, what presented them, it was ironic that the way the story goes was that they were constantly, the whole NASA program was constantly running catch up to the Russians and everything, and their prejudice was one of the hidden figures, because their prejudice against black people was gumming up the works, preventing the potential in them from being released because of their math, their logic, which didn't allow for black numbers. Only white numbers here. No black numbers, you see. Everywhere you went in the South. Just white numbers here, black numbers there. And so it's kind of like doing math without positive and negative. Or it's kind of like doing an elevator with an up and no down. It's kind of like when you have math, you can't have separate but equal. And there was a big, and the funny thing about the movie, this one lady who was Kathy, I forgot what her name, she was really solving most of the difficult math problems for the whole effort there. But when she had to go to the bathroom, she had to go a half a mile to the colored bathroom across the compound. And they kept saying, well, where are you? Were you loafing off? You know, well, no, I had to go to the bathroom. It's a half mile away. Oh my God. And so the head of the thing said, and he took down a colored bathroom thing and said, from now on, everybody's the same color here. But it was, it was kind of a neat moment. And you know, I remember the white and colored bathrooms and the bus in the back and all of that stuff, you know. But anyway, so the hidden figures, it's a great metaphor because it's the hidden figures that keep us from moving forward, it's the hidden figures that creates the glitch in our plan. It's the assumptions we don't see. It's the what's hidden, and what's hidden is because of our assumptions of what is true or certain, or what should be. Or it's always been this way. That was one of the things like that. Well, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is, you see. So nothing personal, it's just the way it is. And so this was a great movie for this, for me, for an extended metaphor, because there is the world is logical. The world works, but when it's not working, it's because we have hidden figures. It's because we have some hidden figures. And we have hidden figures because we're putting a hand over one eye, and we're not looking through with both eyes, you see. So we kind of like, well, I can't see any figures on the right over here, on that side, you know. Well, I don't know, I'm looking, I can't see though. You know, so it's always the hidden figures are always on the other side of our assumptions. So a lot of the spiritual practice is discovering your assumptions and being surprised and letting them, and when you see the assumption, you let it go. The seeing of the assumption that's causing you pain, the seeing of the assumption lets the assumption go. But you have to see the assumption. So if you have hidden figures, so you got like all this math up there, but there's some figures that are hidden, yet you know logically that the figures are there, but you just can't figure out what it is. It's the assumptions that are keeping the full picture from breaking from discovery. So seeing is discovery. Seeing is when you see the whole board instead of just half the board that you assumed was the whole board. So the assumption, you see, an assumption assumes totality from a part. You see, it just sees a piece and assumes that piece is the totality. And this works, you know, assumptions hold reality together. And when we first, the new discovery is going to be an assumption down the road. This is the way evolution works. So I've got they're hidden figures. I see the math. Suddenly it works. But then that truth becomes tomorrow's assumption. So the discovery of seeing through the assumption is always a work in progress. You never arrive at all the figures. The figures are never static. You can never arrive at perfect figures and expect them to hold, because reality is always changing. So the changing reality changes the totality, and your assumptions, your theory, and your idea of what was real is now a part of a larger whole that we no longer see, because we are believing what we previously assumed, and which worked for a while, the totality. You see, we believe that was the whole. So truth is what works. So when we have a truth and it's working, and the astronauts get back safely, you see, that's fine. But when conditions change, which they do, and reality changes, our assumptions now become our obstacle. And it no longer works. So we have to get a bigger boat. We have to get a bigger theory. We have to get a bigger idea. We have to see. And that discovery, that seeing, is not something you can willpower. You can't make it by effort. By effort you can't see. Seeing happens through surrender. You surrender your investment in your assumed truth, and that surrender releases the potential. So in the movie was about that surrender to the assumed truth of segregation, you see. So when that segregated truth no longer worked because it began to obstruct the national interest of beating the Russians, the assumption of segregation became an obstacle to a greater whole, and it was seen through. And it was seen through as being just an illusion. It wasn't real, you see. It never was real. It was an assumed reality that everybody just accepted because that's just the way it was, you see. So it was a great movie for a metaphor that, for me, can work in your everyday life. If a truth can't work in your everyday life, it's not useful. You see, so truth has to be useful. So if something's not working, you have to look at the truth that you assume is the total truth, because truth means the whole, you see. But our theories and ideas of reality are always shrinking, because reality is always expanding. And so what was once an idea that covered the whole now becomes an island, and the ocean is outside of the truth. So this creates tension. It's not working, what's wrong? So, and then we start blaming everybody. But yeah, there's no blame. We have to see through the assumption that we believe to be true. So anyway, this is the end of Easter. I've had a good time. I've talked about rabbits, and well, not rabbits too much, but I've talked about eggs a lot this morning. I talked about the alchemy of Easter, and so off Good Friday, I've talked about the second day of Easter and how that was the portal through that would hold the crucifixion and the resurrection together, you know. So anyway, it's been a very creative weekend for me because I love talking about Christ in a metaphorical way, so that he becomes workable, so that the truth of Christ becomes applicable, and a lever, a liberation. And that's what it's all about, really. If it doesn't liberate you from assumptions and the pain of assumptions, and if it doesn't liberate you from the crucifixion of your own assumptions, what good is it, you see? But in order to make that resurrection work, you have to see through the assumptions of our crucifixion, don't we? You know, I assume I'm a victim. I'm assumed that the world's against me. All these assumptions, you see, are what keep us hanging on the cross. So, there are hidden figures. So anyway, have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.